smart, and the protecting from deplatforming.
All right, Jason.
I once heard somebody got laughed out of the building who talked about how there was going to be this thing called the caliphate and how it was going to spread to Europe and help start destabilizing Europe. Crazy stuff like that.
That guy.
That
Hope they
guy.
fire him.
Yeah.
But it's going down right now, are the beginnings of it. So we'll talk about that.
All right, Andrew.
I would like to talk about George Herbert Walker Bush, who I miss sorely.
Yes, good. All right, before we get into that, I want to thank our sponsor, Brick House. Brick House, and by the way, for any people who might be listening who have not listened previously, or watching who have not watched previously, men, at least the men around this table, don't eat their vegetables. They just don't.
Nope. Just put the camera. Look at me. Do I look like somebody who's eaten vegetables ever in my life? No.
They're not going to eat their vegetables, but there is a way that they can still get it, and that is to drink their vegetables. Now, you think that sounds super gross. However, it's not. Brick House has a product called Field of Greens. It is real powdered food. It's organic fruits and vegetables. And shockingly, it tastes great. I know, but just take our word for it.
You just stir it in a little bit. I mean, it's not like you're making just stir it in something you like. Just put it in there and just.
I even put it in water, and it's delicious.
We were rolling with smoothies that one time. It was great.
Yeah, you can't even taste it, and you're still getting all the nutrition.
Here I am eating raw beets like a sucker.
I actually love beets. I know, I'm weird. But you can go to brickhouseblaze.com, use promo code GREENS, and you get 15% off of your first order, or you can text GREENS to 41411. Get your nutrition and make it taste great. Glenn.
So, a couple of things that I want to make the point on of what we've done in the last 24 hours. And you guys have known, that something was up for the last few months, and it's been killing me to keep it in. But as I had Eric Bowling sitting across the table, and he says, we should just come together. And I'm like, wow, that is a really good idea. I had no idea. But the reason why Eric Bowling said that is they're going to pick us off one by one. And these giant corporations, they are jumping in with both feet on everything. And it is the independent voices that need to be protected. And they're not only going to be attacked from the giant corporations as they go into their death throes, which I predict in the next 5 years or so, but you're also going to see individuals be lost. And we're already seeing people being deplatformed for their points of view. I don't want to work with extremists. I don't want to work with racists, et cetera, but there's a lot of people who are none of those things, who are always accused of those things because they have a different point of view. I believe only darkness or only lies and hatred live in the shadows. That's where that stuff grows. It's like mushrooms. You have sunlight, you have exposure. The hatred doesn't grow in the exposed light. So why, instead of hating on each other and accusing each other of hateful things, why aren't we just having those conversations? One of the things that has happened to the right is the left already went down this road, and they're getting more and more narrow. You have to accept more and more things as gospel, otherwise you're not pure enough. You're now to the point to where you have to agree on global warming, you have to agree on what the research says that we should do and how much we should spend. You have to agree on Marxism and capitalism, all of it lockstep. If not, you're out. The right has a purity test as well, and luckily it hasn't stabilized yet. But it's time to say, do I agree with the Constitution? Do you agree with the Constitution? Can you give me 8 out of the 10? Do you love America, or do you want to see America destroyed? Do you think it was a positive force or a negative force? Is the Western way of life worth saving? If you answer yes to those things, I want to work with you. Because you can't say, I believe in the Bill of Rights. Oh, and by the way, I disagree with you, so you have to be silenced. That doesn't make any sense. So we have gotten together, CRTV and TheBlaze, to create a new company called Blaze Media, and it launched last night. And I hope that it is the first of the welcoming committee. I hope that we have to have a welcome wagon for a lot of talent coming in through the door, because we now have scale. It's very hard. This business, people don't understand. You cannot, there's only 2 ways of doing it. do what I did and fail, do what I could do, which is just do my radio show and a cheap little TV thing and make my money, and that's cool. Like Joe Rogan does that. Cheap, it's him, it's easy, one and done, and you're gone, you're not carrying anybody else. But you cannot cobble together voices with only one powerful voice and a bunch of other really good talent. You need several powerful voices. And so that's what we're trying to do, is bring in CRTV, who has several really great, powerful voices. Steven Crowder is incredible. Mark Levin is one of the best constitutionalists in America today. Eric Bolling, who I vehemently disagree with on a lot of stuff. I love Eric. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. If we don't come together and we don't start saying, as an audience, I support this venture, we're going to go the way of Mike.com. Mike.com was very well funded, had lots of money, et cetera, but you cannot bank on the advertising alone. Advertising is really important, but when advertising dollars go soft or you're boycotted, if you don't have the subscribers as your backbone, you're not going to make it. And so we ask for people to subscribe. And I haven't asked for people to subscribe to The Blaze for a long time because I haven't had confidence in it. You know, we've spent a long time cleaning up the messes of the past, and this last year trying to find somebody to merge with that will begin this ball rolling. And CRTV, we are thrilled to have them. And while we were doing that, we were also starting shows like this, started a new Andrew Heaton show, which is really tremendous. We have a bright, bright future. We need people to say, this is my cable bill. And instead of $34, you get all of it for $9. And I hope to add more voices and keep the price at $9.
Can I give you my honest reaction when I first found out about this?
Yeah.
Because I think it's an interesting conversation. Because we live in a weird time. Let me just start this off with saying, like, I'm a very spiritual person. I think the more spiritual you are, the harder core your message is, whereas in terms of, you know, the effect it's going to have for God, the more the opposite force is going to rise up against you. Maybe you can tell where I'm going with this. This is huge. Huge. And so I was immediately really, really excited.
CNN just ran a story, says I think they said it was the largest media merger in the history of the right.
Wow. So you can imagine not only the people that are on the left, but the people that are on the right even, that will see this as a humongous threat. And we live in a strange time of you can be deplatformed. You could be, I don't know, people like, or companies like Google are ridiculously powerful. ISPs are the new platforms, going forward. And it got me, I don't want to say apprehensive, but it got me just curious about the opposition that will rise up towards this.
I think there'll be great opposition, but I don't fear it, and I think this is. I just told some of our partners upstairs with CRTV. They've been in the building today and working on some stuff, and we've been talking, and I said, this is it. This is the model that will work. I've spent 10 years looking and trying to figure out how this new model works. The new model that everybody's trying doesn't work. And we have gone back and forth and trying to figure it out. This is a model that will work. But people have to have the guts, and they have to see that coming together, not in lockstep, but on constitutional principles. I should be able to stand with a staunch libertarian who loves the country, and I should be able to stand with a Trump guy who loves the country. I'm not going to agree with everything either one of them says, but we're on the same limb. Let's not cut the tree down.
I just want to say I'm really, really excited about all of this.
Yeah,
it's just there's nothing bad that you can say about it. It's just all of these people coming together and recognizing that we can have different nuances and have the same common goal.
And the key here is, and this is not easy. It's not easy for me. It's not easy for anybody. And it's probably easier for me because it keeps the Blaze name. But it's not easy on the ego to merge. It's just not. It's just not. And And everybody who's involved has put their egos aside, and I'm thrilled. I really am thrilled.
Earlier today, when you announced it, we got free pizza.
Okay.
It's just the kind of boss I am.
That's all. All right. That's all you had.
And the perks just keep on coming.
I do want to take this time to let everyone know, all of the new viewers, new subscribers coming from CRTV. We do have a section at the end of the show where we ask for your comments or your questions, and you can use the hashtag TheBlazeY. That's Blaze, WHY. So just to let everyone know.
And you can go on the platform and watch sometimes there's another half hour of this show.
Yes.
That doesn't make it on television.
Yes, yeah. We call it the News and Why It Matters Overtime. So we're happy to have you. Very happy to have you here. Jason, you said that there was a man who may have predicted a bunch of things that may or may not be happening now. Can we take a break and get to that?
Well, please, let's do.
All right, let's do that.
Still didn't make it mine.
A lot more to get into, but first, want to thank our sponsor, iTarget Pro. Jason, I'm going to let you take it away here because you are former military and you know what you're talking about when it comes to guns.
Yeah, really, literally, the first thing they teach you when you're learning how to shoot like a Marine, which, if you didn't know, the best shooters in the military and the world.
Which one were you in?
Marine Corps.
Oh,
One of those things
out of the bag.
doesn't belong.
Oh, good thing you haven't seen me shoot. But anyway, so the first thing they teach you how to do is they teach you how to shoot by dry firing. That's literally how you learn how to shoot properly, not pulling the trigger, doing all that. Dry firing is ridiculously important. And that's what's cool about our iTarget Pro, because you can literally do this in your house and not just, dry firing and not knowing, there's no proof. You're just sitting there pulling the trigger how well you're doing. But with iTarget Pro, you have the little cartridge you put in there. It shoots the laser. It's like playing a video game in your house.
It really is.
You keep track the entire time. It's amazing.
And you save money on range fees and ammunition
Hundreds
fees.
of dollars.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you do that with just regular ammunition in your house, it's very loud.
Yeah,
It
and
is.
it's a little destructive.
You have to replace your furniture all the time. This is way easier.
Wife has to bail you out multiple times.
Kids are in the hospital. I mean, those kinds of things.
iTarget Pro saves you from all of that. You can go to itargetpro.com right now. Use promo code NEWS and you can get yourself some free shipping and 10% off. That is itargetpro.com.
There's somebody watching from Los Angeles right now going, oh my gosh, they shoot in their house and their kids are going to the hospital. They're so irresponsible, these NRA people.
Terrible. All right, Jason, your top story.
This is, I don't know, amazing to me, I guess, because they laughed at you, Glenn, when you talked about the caliphate coming. It came. Then they said it's ridiculous the fact that whatever's going to happen in the Middle East is going to, lend towards the destabilization of Europe. We've seen it. The immigration crisis that brought on from what's going on in Syria and North Africa and places like that has completely overloaded the system. So now you have left-wing groups rising up, protesting immigration. You have right-wing groups rising up, protesting immigration. You could almost say like they're kind of working together.
Which is the last thing until it comes here.
Right. And You could almost even argue that that's already happening because really it is. I mean,
the border.
We're arguing over the same things, the exact same things. Immigration over there, it's Islamic immigration or North African, Middle Eastern and North African. Over here, it's coming up from South America. I mean, we're all talking about the same. You could probably argue that Donald Trump would not be president today if there wasn't such a huge, scandal with the Gang of Eight, and they weren't restructuring the immigration stuff at that point. You could probably say that. Like that was his main bell cow.
I'll go as far as saying Hillary Clinton might have beat him if she didn't seem like so out of touch and so in it for the game and the money. She was totally corrupt to the bone. Didn't believe a word she said. If she did believe in something and she wasn't just the standard wet washcloth, she could have won.
Yeah, Marco Rubio might have, if he wasn't part of the Gang of Eight, immigration thing, he might have gotten a chance to run for president. It's just insane. But what's going on right now in Paris is very, very interesting to me. And Glenn was just talking about this. Both of us were talking about this on radio this morning. I want to try and hit this up I'm going to try and hit this up with maybe a little bit different angle that maybe if you've listened to both those shows, you might have already heard. But just for a quick update, there's been protests going on in Paris right now. They've been protesting for 3 solid weeks. They're protesting over a fuel tax that hit the entire country. Thousands of people showed up incrementally to start off with. Then thousands upon thousands joined them. And there was radical leftists joining in the fray, radical rightists joining in the fray. They're all in the same spot together calling for the downfall of President Macron. Again, working together in a sense. So
they're not crazy. And it was important that I said over and over again, they're not working together. They're not calling each other. They just see the same opportunity, destabilization. Do it, because we'll beat those guys when we get past them.
I want to throw in a quick clarification, though. The French view protesting the way we view football. Protesting is their national sport. The difference is that this has gone from protesting to rioting and prolonged rioting. Because, I mean, they're constantly protesting. Like, I'm making a joke, but in all seriousness, like, it's a huge amount of their economy that just shit like... You go to lunch and the chefs are out to lunch, or they're protesting or something like that. However, it did jump over where they've got all this anti-Macron sentiment.
They set museums on fire. I mean, they destroyed parts of the Arc de Triomphe. I mean, look at that. That looks like Egypt, not France.
Burnt out cars in the streets. Yeah, it's wild. They 23 police officers over the weekend were hospitalized. Around 150 or so people were injured. Over 400 arrests. I mean, it's insane. It started in Paris. It went down into southwestern France, and then it kicked off in the Netherlands this weekend. It's now moving on to the UK, is what the organizers are saying, by next week.
This is the yellow vest.
The yellow vest
protest spreading.
Yep. Germany, and I want to say there was one more place.
Look it up. Spring of Nations, 1848. Spring of Nations.
Because initially this was specifically about the fuel tax, right? Because right now it's like $6.50 per gallon in France, which is a lot.
Did you ever see Les Mis?
Yeah.
Who was it? General Lamarck? That they say at the beginning. General Lamarck is dead. Remember, the people will rally to our cry, or whatever the hell it is.
I would subscribe to any channel that had you doing a one-man version.
I'll do it. So that is in the story that a guy dies, they all trust, and that's the spark of the revolution. These guys, both right and left extremes, are only looking for a spark. So it may have started with this protest of something real, but it's way beyond something real now.
Yeah, and that's kind of the angle I want to take it in now, and why this is dangerous for us, things that we can learn from here. If you're on the left or the right, both of us can learn from this. Right now you have members of the far, far right that are joining forces with maybe people we might call alt-right, or people that we might call conservative over in France, or any other different groups, how you want to separate them out, on the spectrum. But they're all coming together because they all feel like, the establishment hasn't listened to them. They all have one, let's say, like members of the far, far right, let's say people from the National Front, granddaddy National Front, old man Macron, who are anti-Semites, who are Holocaust deniers, bad people. Right now, they're also against immigration. Well, members of just regular conservatives that, they're limited government type people on the right, probably people that could sit down at this table right now with us and probably agree with everything we say, they're now co-opting with people from the far, far right.
And what happens is exactly the same thing that's happened to the Democratic Party. Nancy Pelosi is not long for this world. I mean, look at what's happening with the Clintons. They are done with the Clintons. It's over. And now who's the main face of the party? It's people like Sanders or Cortez or, people like that. The center was eaten by the people with passion.
I remember sitting in high school history class when we were talking about World War II, and it was unfathomable. You're like, how could, you're just like, with the arrival of Hitler and the Nazis, and all spun out of control. Well, I get that he was a bad guy. I get the Nazis were a bad guy, but I do not get how millions of people could go, yes, that's my guy. That's my movie.
Have you read Defying Hitler? Defying Hitler. Read it. It's unbelievable. It's a history book. I've talked about it before, that was written by a guy who was witnessing, and he wrote it as a message to get it out to the West, saying you have no idea what's happening in Germany. Look out. Don't trust him. It stops at about 1938 because he escaped Germany and got out. But he takes it from like 1910 to 1938, and he explains what happened and how that slow drip happened. And I'm telling you, you will look at Germany and you will say, oh my gosh, that's the World Trade Center. Oh my gosh, that was this attack. Oh, that was 2008. You can see how it all happened, and it's happening to us now.
My guess would be like it's similar to what's going on today. Is like you have people that have strong principles, but they feel like they're being ignored and not listened to on just, let's say, immigration or whatever. Back then it was probably reparations or something like that. But then you had one group that said, hey, I am also against reparations or immigration or whatever. I also have these other things that I care about too, very bad things. But you make that decision. Look, I don't care about that other stuff, but I do really care about this, and nobody else is talking about it. So you co-opt in, and that's the most dangerous thing I think that could happen to libertarians or conservative or right-leaning people here in the United States.
That's why it's so important that we have a broad group of voices. We keep it as broad as we possibly can. This is one of the reasons why the merger. Keep it very, very broad. Anchor it with good, solid people, and people who have different ideas. Let's expose those calmly, rationally, talk to those people, have them explain, and learn from each other. Not shut it down. Somebody has to go, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you. And I'm really I want to engage with you to hear what your reason is. And then you rationally, reasonably engage with me, and let's see if we can find a way out of this mess.
All right, back in a minute. got a few minutes left before we go to overtime, so I want to make sure we have enough time to talk about George H.W. Bush in overtime. But I was reading, it turns out that Dick's Sporting Goods is not doing great.
No, it's what a surprise when you take a whole group of people and say, we think you're killers and not trustworthy. Dick's took the semi-automatics out of their store and said that these are weapons of war, and you have to be 21 to purchase one. Well, it's freedom. You can do whatever you want. I didn't think that was a smart move, and apparently it wasn't a smart move. They put a sale on for Black Friday, 25% off of everything. Their sales went up 1%, but their margins were way down. They're in trouble, and they've decided to get rid of all hunting things. And that's fine, and they'll be successful in certain areas of the country, but as a big national brand, they really screwed this up.
What I don't understand is that they actually came out and said that they can trace the downturn to its decision to take action on gun control. Yeah, I mean, you can give it to them.
And you know what, I think because after they said that, they said, we're thinking about taking all guns out. So what they're doing is saying, hey, look, we sacrificed for you guys who don't believe in guns. Please be your store for basketballs. Please be the store for whatever. But they're getting rid of all hunting supplies entirely, and they have to make that up with a bigger share in urban areas where people aren't generally buying guns because they've lost the gun owner and they've lost the center of the country.
I'm interested in our resident libertarians' view on this Dick's Sporting Goods situation.
Oh man, you're going to really hate this. When it comes to guns, I'm not that libertarian in all honesty. Like I think for Dick's and everyone else, gun prices are slumping in general, which doesn't surprise me because that always happens when there's a Republican office. It tends to go up under Democrats. That doesn't surprise me terribly. I'm not bothered by them doing this. I don't, I'm not super into semi-automatics, and like if they want to raise the age on people, it's a private business. Go for it.
You need to come to my ranch.
Yes.
You will be a fan of semi-automatics.
Yes,
the way you said that, though,
you may not return.
I am going to kill you.
You may not return.
I don't know what you meant, officer.
No, okay. We got to take this into overtime, but I have some questions for you on this semi-automatic statement that you just made.
Because I believe it comes from ignorance.
I didn't say it. That was him.
Just because you're wicked and evil.
All right, we'll see you guys in overtime.